one of the things nobody talks about is the fact that Black people built the United States for no pay, and people made money off of them by selling them and so on.
Welcome to this episode of Tiny Pulpit Talks. We are so glad you're with us. Over the last few months, people have been asking about some of the organizations and the groups at the church that are doing some of the central work to really our core reasons for being here, for justice, for equity. And one of those that came to mind for folks that we want to hear more from is our Racial Equity Task Force. So today, we are meeting two of our founding members, correct?
Yes.
Of the Racial Equity Task Force at the church here at First Unitarian Church. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So welcome to this special edition of Tiny Pulpit Talks with the Racial Equity Task Force members, two of them. Would you like to tell us who you are and what you do here?
My name is Pamela Ice, and I am a member of the task force. I've been on the task force since it began in 2018. And for 5 years, the first 5 years, I was the chair. And I'm very proud of the things we've done.
Wonderful. Thanks, Pamela.
I'm Steve Jensen. I am also have been on the task force since it started. And after Pamela stepped down as chair, Carrie Stewart was our interim chair for several months, and then I became chair and am currently the chair till next spring.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for being here on our Tiny Pulpit Talks. You're actually the first church group that is a guest on Tiny Pulpit Talks. So
Awesome.
we're really glad that you're here. Tell me, how did the Racial Equity Task Force come about?
Daniel convened us.
Okay.
He called together a group of Black congregants and white congregants. And it was around, what is it called? I never say it right.
Black Lives UU?
Black Lives UU. There's something else that goes with it.
I forget.
Okay. Giving money to Black Lives UU. And we decided that we wanted to deal with racial equity. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we began doing. We built it from the ground up, as they say, just making it up as we went along. And it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to add anything?
No, I mean, that sums it up. We didn't know what we were, Daniel convened us, but he was very clear. It's like, it's up to you guys to say what it is you're here for. And so the first thing we worked on was a mission statement. And, we've kept that mission statement, which is very broad. It's something like, transforming this church from one steeped in a white supremacy system to one actively engaged in justice making and I can't remember what the other thing we're actively engaged in, but anyhow, I mean, it's very broad, but, we didn't want to limit ourselves. When it comes to what we've actually done since then, our focus, not to the exclusion of other things, but our focus has been on getting people within the church talking about race, thinking about race, learning about race, and being introspective about how white supremacy has affected them and their behaviors and their relationships.
And not being afraid to talk about it.
Yeah. The silence is so seductive to just push things under a rug, imagining that there is any rug big enough, thick enough, strong enough to hold such things. Yeah, it's true. I mean, was there a reason you were approached, or was there something that about racial equity work that you were drawn to? Maybe Pamela first.
I was drawn to it because at that point, we had so few people of color in the church. And being a black person myself, it was something I wanted to talk about and get people engaged with. And making them realize, often we talk about, oh, there's so few black people, what do we do? And my answer is you invite the people you know, just like you invite the white people you know.
Absolutely.
So that is something that we have put forth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I got into it because I had a close friendship for many years with Daryl Brown, and Daryl, for whatever reason, thought I would be good. So I engaged his call. So and now I'm still here.
Yeah.
Right, I don't know why I was chosen.
Okay.
I guess Daryl told you that.
He asked me. I mean, it's possible someone else had thought of my name, but I doubt it.
Well, how long have you both been at the church?
I've been at the church since 1988.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we started coming as a family in about 2010 or 2009, and we joined in 2011.
And how have you felt you've seen some stuff at the church in both of your times. What about the Racial Equity Task Force and its work have you seen an impact? Have you seen a change from the time you've been here?
Not as much change as I'd like to see.
Okay.
But there seems to be, on the part of a good number of people, some eagerness for learning and becoming more engaged with racial equity. And learning, it sounds so odd to me, but learning how to talk to black people. And my position is you talk to us just like you talk to anybody else.
Yeah.
But people are worried that it's a different culture. I don't know about other black people, but I'm an American and I am enculturated as an American. Yes, there are some things that occur in black spaces that don't occur in mixed spaces, but I'll leave it at but.
Yeah. Steve, what about you?
Remind me of the question.
Have you seen you've been here since 2010.
What
have you seen since 2018?
Yeah, what has changed? I think that we think about and talk about racial equity and issues that relate to racial equity far more often now than we did in 2018. I think that, I'd like to take some credit for that with the Racial Equity Task Force, but I know a lot of it has to do with you guys, the ministers and the staff and the board have all, committed to, and so you guys are talking about it from the pulpit, pretty often. Daniel has had, I was counting just the other day, and he's done at least 6 front porch conversations, maybe more, that have centered on racial equity. We've had all church events, at least 2 or 3 times that are centered on racial equity. And none of that was happening, before 2018.
Okay. solved.
Are we done?
What's in the future? What's the hope of the next year to 5 years? Let's start with what's coming up this year. We have some
Okay.
events to talk about, I think.
November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, Steve and I are facilitating a discussion on a film called Race, the Power of an Illusion.
Right.
And it will be Friday evening and then Saturday and Sunday afternoon.
Where is it?
Zoom.
Where is it?
Oh, it's all on Zoom. Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
what you hear that, everyone? This group's after your heart. You can stay home and do
Right,
this.
anyone can come.
Okay.
And we've done it live and we've done it Zoom, and this time we're doing it Zoom.
Okay.
The film is very provocative because it does talk about the fact that race is an illusion, that it's something that's made up.
Yeah.
And the film takes some students through some biological exercises to show them that they're all the same, except not. So it's a very provocative film. I think anyone who comes to see it will enjoy
Yeah.
seeing it, talking about it, thinking about it further after we leave.
Good.
Yeah, and I love that the first episode, so there are 3 episodes. The first episode starts with what Pamela describes and the children's, the high school kids' experience of, sort of viscerally coming to realize that biologically there's nothing to it. And then, having said that, the next 2 episodes are all about, well, in spite of the fact that biology doesn't have anything to do with it, and that part is illusory, the impacts of, this construct that we've created are so dramatic and
Right.
long-term, and, we're still so much trying to deal with them through lots of aspects of our lives.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember watching, when I was in Hawaii, we watched Ava DuVernay's documentary 13th. And not knowing the pool I was about to jump into of shock and how much not knowing. And I had read Michelle Alexander's Ending the New Jim Crow. And so I sort of had a sense, but her portrayal, the visceral aspect of film and that relational piece is really profound. It hits on something that you can't get when you're reading. Have you found that? Has it led to these kinds of interactions?
Well, I think film has an entirely different impact.
Yeah.
You feel like you're there, wherever there is. And Ava DuVernay is really a master
Yeah.
at creating films that speak to people. We've done 13th.
A couple
Yeah.
of times, yeah.
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 So who knows? We may do it again next year.
Yeah, I would just tell anyone watching, I say this sometimes, and I don't mean to be pejorative in any way, but it's very hard for me to have a conversation about racial equity with someone who hasn't seen 13th. I sort of like, well, can we just pause this conversation for 2 hours? Can you watch that? Or we'll watch it together.
Right.
And then we'll continue this conversation. I'm only asking for 2 hours. And then we'll see. And Race, Power of an Illusion actually touches on, in a sense, I would say, a deeper part of humanity and shared humanity in a way that is it's more beautiful and in a way than, in a sense, more tragic. I don't mean to be tipping, but you should all go, sign up
Yes.
and do this. But have you found that also, that it's this shared humanity piece that is so gone from people's minds?
Yes, I think that people don't that everyone doesn't realize. It's just like I was saying about how to talk to black people. Well, come on. We're just human beings. And I think that gets forgotten, especially in the political climate that we're in right now, with people being so, I don't want to use the word crazy, but I will, about race. And so I think I've forgotten where I was going.
I was about the shared humanity. There's something about race power of illusion that gets to that commonality that can get lost. And you were answering that exact question of this. It's almost that people are abstracting the idea of race out of the person. And
Right.
that is what I think sometimes political opponents do for gain. It's what systems have always done. We could get into other systems, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's this balance to be struck, between, yes, race is illusory from a biological sense, but on the other hand, it has such profound impacts on our identity in this culture, right? And to, since the civil rights movement in the 60s, a lot of white people have taken the position, I don't see color, we're all the same, it's just one human race, and all of that can come out of, you could see how this could come out of the idea of, well, it's just an illusion, but, not seeing race is not the way to solve racial issues, and so.
Right, because we're visual animals. I mean, if you're walking down the street, you notice that some people are black, some people are Asian, some people are Indian. And so it's not something we can ignore.
Right.
Because it's in our faces all the time.
Yeah, so it's a lie from a purely, visual sense, but it's also, a denial of identity, right? I mean, because our experiences, our race helps shapes who we are as individuals, and denying that, you see that is a way of denying you see the person, I think.
Yeah. And then the other side of this is the sort of the other piece of the power. There's power of the illusion, and then there's the power is that what are the consequences? And this is part of my real struggle with people who are, quote, anti-critical race theory or something. It's like we're just talking about consequences that are verifiable by numbers. So we have this piece, but then we have this is the impact of accumulation of wealth. This is the impact of withholding the ability to get mortgages or to access the GI Bill, or the manifold ways that these kinds of inequities have played out and resulted in now complete inequity in family wealth and in incarceration rates and in criminality and in disenfranchisement for voting. And those are just the three off the top of my head. And I think that's something some people don't want to look too much at, is the actual raw numbers.
I think that's what 13th
Right.
Brings people to, that you have to look at it.
Yeah.
And there's a short film that the name of which just went out of my head, but it's about wealth, about the accumulation of wealth in the United States. And it's probably going to pop up, the name of it. But anyway, that's something that I hope that we'll do something with, because one of the things nobody talks about is the fact that black people built the United States for no pay, and people made money off of them by selling them and so on. So it's, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to veer off into
Let's get there,
difficult
'cause
subjects.
If you have not read Ebony and Ivy, I know I'm just like throwing stuff out there, but do you know this book?
I haven't read it.
Oh, it's an incredible book. It's all just about the elite colleges and their ties to wealth, from stolen labor, from actual sale of persons. And I mean, Harvard Law School was founded by one of the most avowed racist slave traders you could imagine. As a Yale grad, we often say Harvard's never met a check it wouldn't cash. Sorry, you can edit that out. But there's just aspects of it everywhere. I mean, when I was at Yale, there were stained glass windows still with depicting people participating in stolen labor, during the period of slavery, and this was in 2010s. So I know I'm kind of pontificating here, but that's just one book, and I think sometimes the scholarship of people who do want to write about this, I know this for a fact, people in the academy sometimes are like, well, I'm never going to get published if I write this. So there's a lot of countervailing oppression that is all tied to money, because research and publishing is all about promotions and all about your well-being in the academy, that are also countervailing against some of these publishing, some of these ideas. So
One of the things I learned, I spent a summer at Yale in a program, and I think I learned it then, that at Harvard and Yale, back in the 1800s, young men would bring their slaves with them to be their body man and take care of iron their clothes, wash their clothes, all that. It just blows my mind that, I mean, they owned them to the extent that they could bring them with them, and they didn't go anywhere.
And we raise all this because you haven't quite said the word yet, so I'm just going to say it: reparations. And I think
My favorite word.
I just